Whoa, ho, ho, back to and getting towards the end of the island at the end of everything. Now, I think we had the pivotal chapter last week. Really, really intriguing, really interesting. The way that Ami reacted to Mari and Kidlat when things were going wrong on the boat. A side of Ami we'd never seen before, and a side she's still trying to make up for. They were heading back towards Coulion, and I think they were nearly there. Well, let's find out in the next chapter if they made it in the forest. Somehow, it's always dusk when you approach. That's what Nanny always told me, and now twilight is falling when I see the lights strung out against the forest like rosary beads, like a necklace. The Sano port glinting ahead, and to the right, my arms shake, but my head fills with a strange lightness. I have had to row since the hills started to tower and shrink the wind until the sail emptied entirely. Mari and Kidlat are curled up asleep, and I'm glad Mari's eyes are closed, so I cannot see the hurt in them anymore. There is a boat hunched in the harbour, but there doesn't seem to be anyone around. The tide seems to be carrying us in, and I guide the boat as best I can towards a small cove to the left of the harbour. The necklace winks out of sight as the scraping of rocks jerk. Mari and Kidlat wake. Mari looks around beyond the rocky beach. The forest sways darkly. Ami, I did it! Mari looks at me and smiles. The knot in my chest unravels. We take our pillowcases and splosh into the shallows. It's not quite so shallow for Kidlat, and he clings to Mari's legs until we reach the beach. The solid ground feels tricksy under my feet, untethered as though it were the ocean. We sit a moment to steady ourselves. My mouth is dry, and the orange segment Mari offers sings over my tongue. I watch the narrow shape of our boat bobbing against the rocks. The tide will take it out, unless it sinks without anyone to bail. Perhaps someone else will find it and fix it all over again. Goodbye, Lahim, I murmur. We'd better go, says Mari. Walking in the dark should feel like an adventure, but all I can think about is how big the forest is, and how small we are in it. The rains will be here soon, the clouds thickening and spilling, washing the air clean. For now, the night sky feels heavy above us, our breath thick. We cross the road that brought Kidlat and me to the harbour, and keep to the shadows so we can go uphill if we hear anyone coming. It should be easy enough to follow the road from a safe distance, the road that goes all the way to Coulion town. The forested hills loom above us, muffled and watchful. The ground is firm and branch covered, and it would be impossible to see a snake in the shadows. Rosita used to say to let matters be, and the things that matter will take care of themselves. It seems a silly thing to think, and I'm not sure I believe her, but it is rude to think ill of the dead, so I decide to stop worrying about what is snake and what is shadow. Mari and I are silent until we reach the river. Kidlat is too, but he is always silent. I remember the river crossing the path close to the end of our cart ride and feel a fluttering in my stomach. We are moving so much slower than I imagined. A day instead of a couple of hours for the crossing, and how many more hours to reach there? The trees are set back so the moon beams down strong and silver. I untie the basin from my back and use it to collect water so we can drink. The taste of garlic and shrimp has not entirely faded. The forest is motionless around us but not quiet. We can hear frogs, the faint bubble of fish in the water, insects clicking at each other. We should have brought a net, I say, or some lines. I have something better. My party trick. I'll show you I'm not useless. Mari holds up her limp hand and wiggles her eyebrows, so I can tell she's teasing. But it still sends shame lancing through me. Grab that. She points to a flat stone nearby. Hold it up and be ready. I don't ask what for. She lies on her belly by the low bank and lets her hand dangle in the current. Kidlat leans in to watch too. For a long while nothing happens, but I don't interrupt her. Her gaze is a beam-like focus. Then something glints by her fingers. It begins to nibble at the skin. I suck in my breath, but Mari doesn't flinch. More tiny fish begin to gather, but it's only when a larger silver-green tilapia begins to pick them off that Mari brings her other hand down fast, scooping under the fish and flipping it out of the water on the bank. The fish lands 2 yards away from me, flapping and gasping. Get it, Amy! I mean to, but I've never killed anything like this. I've only ever collected meat already parcelled in brown paper from Rosita's, or dropped crabs into the oil and not had to watch. Amy! The fish is flopping its way closer to the water, its panic taking it up in great arcs around my ankles. Mary stands up and grabs the stone from me. I hold on to it a little longer than I should, hoping that the fish will make it back to the water. The stone falls and Mary rolls her eyes at me as she kicks it away from the fish. We almost lost it. The underside of the stone has a dark smear and I don't want to look at the fish, but can see it at the corner of my vision, twitching limply in Mary's hand. She has picked it up by the tail and hits it against the stone, and the twitching stops. I feel as if I'm about to cry. Kidlat is already sniffling. Did you have to do that? I say, and my voice is angrier than I want it to be. What? Hit it again. Mary hooks her finger under the gill and tilts her head at me like a quizzical bird. It was dying. It was in pain. I meant to kill it with the stone first time. It's kinda that way. I sniff. Something is dripping from the fish, making a dull, splatting noise on the stone. Mary holds it out to me apologetically. I can't prepare this on my own, Amy. Can you help me? Her face is so worried and so kind that I feel embarrassed. I nod firmly. Yes, of course. I'm sorry, I don't know. No, I'm sorry. I thought you'd have seen that before. It's just food, Amy. It's because we need food. I know that, I say, flushing. There's going to be more blood when we got it. It's not the blood, I say, and it's not. It's the death. She smiles hesitantly, then kneels and begins to rinse the fish in the quick-moving water. When she holds it out to me, it looks as clean as when it came out of the river. It looks like the fish Nanny used to buy from Bondoc, that I helped her prepare 100 times before. My throat feels a little less dry. I wash the dark stain off the stone and take the cold, firm body in both hands. I place it on the flat surface while Kidlat and Mari shift through the stones at the bank, searching for one that has not been smoothed by the water. Kidlat hands me a sharp oblong stone, and holding the fish steady by its tail, I run the edge up its side. The scales come off like tiny mirrors, speckling the rock and making my fingers glint. I slice the fins off and lay them to one side, and hooking my finger through a gill, I split the belly, running the flint down so it opens and I can scoop out the insides. Mary looks away at this bit, and I'm surprised, seeing as she was so brisk with the stone. The flint isn't sharp enough to fillet the tilapia neatly, so once I've rinsed the fleshy inside, we take turns stripping the meat from the bones with our fingers. It's fresh enough to be eaten raw, though it doesn't taste very good. I try not to let my mind wander to the meal on the beach with Nane, or even Luco's boiling pot and rice. As I swallow my last mouthful, Mary nudges me. Kidlat is curled up on the ground, fast asleep. We should wake him, I say. Couldn't we let him sleep a moment? I am too tired to carry him. I look down at the tiny frame and sigh. Every moment we waste sleeping is another moment before we get to Nane, but I can't bear to wake Kidlat. I look along the river to where it disappears into the thicket and wonder if I should suggest I go on alone. The darkness is suddenly terrifying. A couple of hours won't hurt, I say, and suddenly my legs begin to ache as if they have only just realised how much walking they have done. Mari nods and curls up too, her back against Kidlat's. I lie down on his other side, facing the river. The water whispers over the rocks, the insects click. Lovely chapter. So they've made it onto the island. They have successfully fed themselves. They've had to take an unexpected break, but they're heading to Nane. Let's see what happens in the next chapter, the horses.